Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and thanks for tuning in today. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. As you can tell by the title, today we will be talking about something completely different that we normally discuss. The title of the video is How to Lower Your Glucose once you've returned from the doctor and the doctor says your numbers are a little high. I can speak from experience. That happened to me about 6 years ago. And I'm going to share with you what I did and see if it could be helpful for somebody who's watching this video. I'm definitely not a doctor. I'm definitely still learning, but I can share with you what would help me and what's continuing to help me too. Now, like I said, this was 6 years ago. So if you've seen my channel prior, I was mentioning how to plan your new year, how to do good things, how to have disciplines. So this is one of the first ones I wanted to talk about is how to lower your glucose and how to do it consistently. Hopefully, the doctor doesn't require you to take medication. It'll give you a chance to do this on your own and get great results. And that's the goal. So it doesn't work for everybody, but I can almost assure you, if you put a lot of effort into this, as I'm describing it to you, you will see some results. It's helped me incredibly. And people have asked me a lot of times when I see them, how did you do it? And what are you doing differently? How are you looking so healthier, much healthier now? I'm still on that journey. I'm not quite where I want to be, but a lot better than what I used to be. So let's jump into it. Let's get started. So let's say you're back from the doctor. The doctor has said, "Hey, your glucose levels are high," or maybe you checked them yourself and you see that your numbers are going a little high. And what is considered high? I think if you you can look it up online. Ultimately, anything, a resting glucose, it should be somewhere between 70 and 90 for a good reading. A fasting glucose level, somewhere between 70 and 90. And you could check this, Google this and double check. And then anything over 90, it's maybe you've already had a meal. So let's say you've eaten your meal, an hour or two after your meal, you should be somewhere between 90 and maybe 120, 130, kind of in that range. So you can see fasting, low glucose, before you've eaten, it's lower. Then after you eat, it goes up a little bit. It should come back down to that fasting glucose. Now, the problem I was having was my glucose was staying high, and it was causing, I'll share with you some of the symptoms I had was definitely a lot of constant going to the restroom. You're constantly having to go to the restroom because your glucose is high, and that's what it did to me. I was running to the restroom every couple of hours, and even at night, I would wake up having to go to the restroom. So that was one of the signs that I knew I had to go get myself checked. The other thing was, at that time, I was probably I was pretty heavy back then. I was a little heavier than I am now, of course. And I realized I started losing a little bit of weight too. So as you can see, it had started to affect me. I was losing weight, but I wasn't dieting. It was just, this was happening because of my pre-diabetic status. I didn't realize that's what was happening. And so all that was puzzling to me. I didn't know enough about it. So I went to the doctor, and that's what they told me. Hey, your glucose is high. And I'll just tell you truthfully, he said, here, you need to start taking your medication right away. And I said, well, I asked the doctor, I said, doctor, if I can get my glucose level down, do I still have to take the medication? And he said, no, you won't have to. I said, well, then that's what my plan is. So the day I got home, this is what I got. A glucose monitor, glucose tester, I think I bought this one for around $20. Um, and actually, the glucose meters are really affordable. It's the strips that start to get a little pricey. So you can find a glucose meter anywhere from $19 to probably $50 or $60. But the test strips, you're having to buy package after package. It gets a little pricey. But it's well worth it because you're able to check and monitor yourself at home and see how your body's reacting to the meals. So this is one of the first things I would recommend is get yourself a good glucose meter, glucometer. Um, I can't tell you what brand because they all seem to be pretty good. I think if you research them online, you'll find that they're all supposed to be within like a 10 to 15 error range, something like that, where they'll be within range 10 to 15 points or something. Double check each one that you research and see what it tells you. But I found is when you test your glucose, you'll see a trend. You can see if it's staying in that range that you need it to be, or you could see if it's jumping up. It may not be exact. So perfect example, when I first bought mine, I would test my glucose the morning I woke up. And at that time, when I would wake up in the morning, my glucose was like over 100. It was I think around 110. And that was after I hadn't eaten. That was in the morning. It should be a little lower, but I mean, that's not terrible. I'm not saying I was diabetic. I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just giving you my insights to see if it can help you. But mine was hovering around 110, maybe even a little higher in the mornings. So my goal was to start to get that lower every morning. And by using the meter here and the test strips, oops, I dropped something. And what you would do is you're buying your test strips here, and you're constantly testing yourself, especially when you first get home and you start to explore what your numbers are. You need to test it as often as you can and as often as you can afford it, because I know you use a lot of test strips. But I would recommend minimally when you first get home, and if your glucose has been high and you're trying to get it down and you're focused on it, is doing at least 3 times a day. Morning, noon, and at night. Initially, if you can do it more because it's not going to hurt. And also, what it'll do if you're taking it often, you'll be able to see if there's any changes, and also you'll be able to see what the range is for your glucose meter. You'll get an idea. And just telling you from my experience, I remember a couple times I would test my glucose, and then I would immediately test it again with another strip in a different area, different finger, and it was like 10 or 15 points different. So you just take those two and then you average it, because once again, it has that variance in range. I wish they were perfect. I can't tell you that they are, but I can tell you it does help. Still very, very good tool. So that would be my first bit of advice. Get yourself one that's affordable. Get yourself the test strips and start testing immediately and often, as much as you can afford, because it's so valuable to know what your glucose is doing whenever you're eating your meals. So that's the first step. The second step is, you may not want to hear all this, but you have to cut back on your carbs. You're going to have to cut back on your carbs. You have to cut back on your really you just need to eliminate. Let me pull my computer up here. Eliminate the sugars. That's what I did. Like I said, now I'm just giving you my approach. I just eliminated sugar, which is not easy to do, but there's a lot of options. And then cut way, way, way back on your carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Your breads, pastas, cereals. And believe it or not, you have to eliminate like orange juice and apple juice. You got to just take that out because that's like liquid sugar. I don't want to start this video and tell you all these things that you can't have, because that's going to be uncomfortable, and you won't get the great results. What I would say is cut back immediately on your carbs and try to eliminate sugar if you can. It's a step at a time. It's progressive. It's accumulative. That's the word. It accumulates. So if you're able to start lowering your intake on sugar, you'll start to see better glucose numbers. So I went pretty much cold turkey because the doctor told me, hey, you're going to start taking this medication now because you're already pre-diabetic. I said, but I asked him, now remember, I asked my doctor, I said, may I try to lower my glucose naturally? And if I can I not take this medication? He said, yes. So start testing. So I got a piece of paper the first day I got home with my glucometer, my glucose meter here, and the test strips, and I would test myself, and I'd write it down every day, every morning, every midday, every night. Sometimes after my meals, I'd write it down. And that will help you too, because what you document will really stand out in your mind. So going back to the initial way of eating, this is so important. Oh man, it's so important. If you can cut back on your carbs, eliminate the sugars the best that you can initially. You can do more later, but just to get started and see a big difference, if you can do those two things right out of the gate, that will make a huge difference when you test with your test strips. That I can assure you, it will make a difference, because all those carbohydrates become sugar. When you're eating a bologna and cheese sandwich, you're not thinking that I'm eating a ton of sugar, right? You're thinking I'm having a healthy sandwich. Would it maybe a ham and cheese? I don't know. But what happens is those carbohydrates turn into glucose, and you'll see them on your test strips. It'll be high. So that's why you have to cut back on your carbs immediately, as much as you can. I know you can't just suddenly stop eating the way you've been eating, but if you want to see a difference, that's what I would recommend. And just do it gradually, but initially at least cut back on your carbs and cut back on your sugar. That's the first phase. And then, of course, the other thing is testing yourself continuously. Like I said, minimum 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. Because really what you want to use the test strips for is before you eat your meal and then a couple of hours after you eat your meal. So you can see the spike or the change. You can see if it shoots up too high and when it goes down. And as you learn that, you'll see that there's meals that you can consume that are safe for you. Another important point, cut out snacks. Cut out snacks in between meals. Please. We don't need to snack. If you're an adult, we snack because we were kids and we were bored, but as we get older, we don't need those snacks if we're eating properly. Now, do what your doctor tells you. I'm not telling you to starve yourself. I'm just trying to say, eat your meals. And you notice I haven't told you to eliminate meals. We'll talk about that in a minute, but get rid of the snacks. That makes a huge difference too. Because if you think about glucose is changed every time you put something in your mouth. Every time you take a bite of food, if it's low carb or not, it will change your glucose because your body's receiving that food and that protein, and it turns into glucose. So if you can eliminate those up and downs to just less of those, you will see good results also in your glucose. It'll start to improve. So eliminate the snacks if you can. I would encourage you to try to do that if possible, because it really, you don't need them. If you're eating properly, you don't have to have snacks. So far everything is like trying to take away, but no, let's talk about what you can eat. Let's enjoy what you can eat. I could tell you, for example, today for lunch, I had a grilled hamburgers with grilled vegetables. Now that was cooked yesterday, I just heated it up. But grilled hamburgers and grilled vegetables and a little avocado. And I'm full. and it was delicious. And you can put some, I like mustard on my hamburgers, or maybe you want mayonnaise or something. Stay away from the ketchup. Ketchup has a lot of sugar, but you can see now I'm telling you some of the things that you can eat. You can have a good hamburger, a good steak, or a good pork chop, or a good chicken breast. You can have really almost all vegetables other than baked potatoes and starchy vegetables. You want to avoid those. But, bell peppers and mushrooms and tomatoes, avocados, onions. You see, there's a better trend here. Now I'm telling you all the things that you can eat. What I would recommend is maybe go online and Google low carb, low glycemic vegetables, and you'll see there's a massive list, and enjoy those and get full on those. You can even do a low glycemic list for all meats, and most meats are all low glycemic. So you're able to, now if you're not a big meat eater, I understand, there is alternatives, but meat has been helpful for me, so that way I can get full with the vegetables and the salad and the meat, whatever it is, chicken breast, or I even eat, what do you call those, lamb chops. I eat lamb chops occasionally. Now, I'm not trying to make you hungry, but just saying there's a lot of choices. So that's what I had for lunch. For breakfast, I had some scrambled eggs with some cheese. Great meal. So you can see it. You can have those things. But notice I didn't say I had a big bowl of cereal like I used to. I used to have giant bowls of cereal for breakfast. I'm not going to name any brands, but you probably have your favorite. But those 99.9% of the breakfast cereals, especially the ones that have been around a long time that we all love and grew up with, are no good for your glucose. That's the easiest way to say it. They're no good. Not good for your glucose. I mean, you can probably enjoy them occasionally, but I just don't buy them. And upcoming videos, I'll share some of the things that I've found that kind of take the place of those. But today, I just want to give you the foundation, the pillars, if you want to call it that, the pillars of what's your first steps to lower your glucose when you get back from the doctor, or if you found that your glucose is high. And like I mentioned, I had a couple of symptoms. Make sure you notice if you have any changes in your symptoms, your weight, frequent urination, whatever it is, those are the things. But have a doctor check you, determine what your steps are, because maybe you're in more of I was pre-diabetic at that time. That was 6 years ago. Maybe you're further along. Maybe you are full diabetic and you need that medication. That's fine. Do what the doctor says. But if you incorporate these things also to what your doctor is doing, I assure you it will help with the medication. And God willing, maybe you can get it so low that you won't need medication. So you see, this is not to be over dramatized and saying, "Oh, this is going to heal everybody. This is a cure-all." This is just great steps to improve. And I'm hoping that somebody will get the same results I had. Because like I mentioned, the reason I'm doing this video is I've had a lot of people come up to me and ask me, well, how I did it. Because like I was telling you, once I made that decision, I went to this diet. I changed the way I was eating. I'm still eating 3 meals a day, healthy meals. But because of no snacking, because of the low carb, because of the no sugar, I lost a lot of weight. I think probably 25 to 30 pounds, somewhere around there. I lost weight when I went on this thing. Now, if you're really serious about lowering your glucose, you'll see that you'll lose some of that extra weight from not eating all those carbs. But keep yourself monitored, check with your doctor. This is hopefully just something that can kind of give you some extra strength to get better results. If you're already on medication, keep taking your medication, but incorporate the low carb and of course the glucose meter and testing. And by the way, it doesn't hurt. You get used to it. Maybe on the next video I'll show you. I mean, I can kind of show you what it looks like, but I won't do it. You just get the little little lancets, and then of course you prick your finger, and then you use the test strips, and they're all pretty basic. They just go right into your system, and into your glucose meter, and then you'll read the blood through that. So they're similar. And like I said, maybe next video I'll show exactly how I test it if that's helpful for you. So those are the things I wanted to cover. I know I didn't want to make this video too long, but those are the first few steps. Put them into effect right now. You can do it immediately. You can start testing your glucose immediately. You can go to, if you're a fan of Walmart, you can go to Walmart and get yourself a meter, get some test strips, get started. Like I said, if you want to go online and do some research just to see which one's the most affordable and the best results, I found that they're all pretty decent. None of them are perfect, but they're decent, and it's worth it. It's worth a little bit of an investment. Eliminate your snacks. Start cutting back on your carbs. Stop with the rice. No more of those big pasta dishes. No. Those are our enemies. Because I'm including myself. Those are our enemies. You got to avoid those pasta dishes, the chicken and rice, or what's the other one? The stir-fried vegetables and rice. No more rice. You can have some, just cut way back. And like I said, I'm going to go over some more of that on the next video and talk about specific items that you can use to replace the things that you're used to. So I hope this helps. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. Or no, not the chat box, but the comment box down below. My next video, I'll try to show how to test your glucose at home. It's pretty simple. And maybe share a little bit of the foods that you can use to replace some of the foods that you're used to right now. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk to you next. Thanks.